Hello and welcome back to the Kid Stays in the Podcast. I'm your host, Trey Cooper, and joining me today is...
Saruman Cooper.
You can't say the same thing again.
Yes, I can, because it's a three-parter, so it's going to be the same name every time.
That's just lack of creativity.
What would it be? What could I possibly have changed it to?
I don't know, but it's not the exact same thing every single time we do it.
Okay, fine. Sauron Cooper.
Worse.
Ooh.
It's the same joke.
Yeah, except for, no, Saruman and Saruman are different people.
Okay.
Gosh. Cooper.
Anyway, Solomon Cooper is here with his crappy names. And today, our much-awaited follow-up discussion of Lord of the Rings with Lord of the Rings and... which is this one called?
I don't want to say it.
You say it.
It came out at the same time as in the Two Towers.
Yeah, the Two Towers. Why did you not want to say that? I thought you didn't know it.
No, it came out at the same time as...
As what? What are you doing?
I can't say it. You go.
What are you doing?
Keep talking.
No, I want to know what you're beating around the bush about.
9/11 happened in the same year as this movie came out.
Did it really?
Yes.
Are you positive?
It's called The Two Towers. Yes,
That's not. It wasn't called the Two Towers because of 9/11.
Feels like it.
No, it certainly was not. Was it really the same year? That does not feel right.
When did the first movie come out?
Because 9/11 obviously happened in September, and this movie came out in December, which would only been like 3 or 4 months later. I feel like they would have changed the name. I mean, I guess it is the name of the book. But I also feel like I would have still been feeling residual sadness whenever the movie came out.
What's the name? When did the movie come out? Do I need to look up the name when the movie came out?
You're the one who just... Why'd you just make that up?
I didn't make it up. I said it. I said it last time. I said it whenever we first were watching it. Or maybe it was the first movie. No, it wasn't.
All right, well, this is a long movie, and if we're going to be looking up... It came out in 2002, so you're wrong.
Oh, the first movie came out.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I have it pulled up right now. Two Towers came out in 2002. So anyway, we don't have time for you to look up, argue facts with me. We're not playing Scrabble.
I beat you at Scrabble, and he knows it.
Who knows it?
You know that I beat you at Scrabble.
Okay, that has nothing to do with this movie whatsoever.
Well...
So, as you know, we're doing a rewatch. For me, a rewatch. For Solomon, a first-time watch. I haven't seen these movies since they came out at the theater. In anticipation of the new upcoming Amazon show, I wanted to watch the movie so I know who everybody was. And I figured it'd be a good time to get Solomon into them. For those of you who didn't listen to our last episode about Lord of the Rings, which, by the way, this is kind of shocking, but that was the one I have gotten the most feedback about of all of our podcasts.
Positive feedback?
Yes, people really liked that one.
That's good.
Yeah, they really liked it because, usually if it's a new movie, either someone hasn't seen it yet or they already have seen it or maybe they've already talked to me about it or whatever.
Yeah, because you just talked to everyone about... Maybe you should just stop talking to your friends and let them just listen to our podcast.
Maybe I should. But yeah, people really liked that. So I loved Lord of the Rings movies whenever they came out in the theater. I absolutely adored them. But then for some reason, I just never went back and watched them again.
Yeah.
So I don't remember if I actually mentioned it on the last podcast, but whenever we were rewatching Fellowship of the Ring, I realized that of all of them, that one I had seen multiple times because I watched it several times at the theater, and then I watched it a couple of times that year to get ready for the next movie. But after that, I went off to college and didn't just watch the next ones as they came out in the theater. So when we watched the Fellowship of the Ring, I was like, oh, I have seen this a bunch of times. I remember all of this. Two Towers, not so much. I will have no idea what happens in Return of the King.
All I've seen is the Hobbit movies, so all of this was fresh and new.
And you haven't even seen all the Hobbit movies. You just saw one. You saw the middle one.
That's really... Why?
Because I went and saw the first one by myself.
Because you don't love me.
You were doing something. You were busy.
I was young.
You're a busy 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Is the Hobbit movie that you saw the one where they're all the elves?
Dude, don't even ask me.
Was it the one with the spiders?
I have no recollection of them at all.
Was there a dragon in it?
Dad, how hard for you is it to understand I have no recollection at all.
Do you remember any dwarves in a bucket floating down a river?
In a bucket?
Yeah, all these dwarves getting buckets.
That doesn't sound familiar at all.
Okay.
The only thing I remember was Schmeagol.
Is he in the? Oh yeah, of course he is. Yeah, he's in there.
I only remember Schmeagol from everything.
Well, speaking of Smeagol, he does make his big appearance in the Two Towers movie.
His big debut.
I mean, he appears at the very end of Fellowship of the Ring.
And we see him get tortured.
Yeah.
But this is his actual journey. We watch him. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I love Schmeagol. He's my new favorite character, besides like Samwise.
He's so sketchy.
I know, but whenever he's like, you feel so bad for him. You have so much sympathy for him because he's crazy. That ring's getting all up to him, and he loves Frodo, but then he just starts going crazier and crazier.
I'm sure this analogy has been made before, so I'm just gonna sound really unoriginal, but he's like having a crackhead as a friend. He kind of looks like a crackhead, first of all. But he's like having a crackhead as a friend. You can't trust him. He always wants to get some more of that sweet, sweet crack. And he's always like, oh, I've changed. I'm different. Oh, you're my best friend. I never steal from you.
He did change.
And then they steal all your stuff. They try and eat your fingers off.
Yeah, but he did change. He was different, and then he got betrayed by Frodo.
He didn't really get betrayed. Frodo was helping him.
Well, yeah, but he didn't understand what was happening.
Yeah, it's like when you do an intervention on a crackhead.
He led him
They don't understand. They feel like you're being tricksy.
You led him to a trap.
They were gonna kill him.
Yeah, but he led them still into a trap. He didn't know.
He was trying to talk to him. And he's like, "Yo, buddy, you need to stop doing this crack for your health."
Stop! It's not crack.
Well, before we get into that, maybe we should not do we need to recap the plot of this movie, but why don't you just give us a quick, because I just love your beautiful synopses. Why don't you give us a quick synopsis where we go? In the first movie, we get we introduce all the characters. We put together the Fellowship of the Ring, right? Mm-hmm. What are you doing?
Looking at you.
Why are you making a weird face?
I'm not.
And then we get a little ways into the journey. And then in this movie, like, just give us a quick synopsis of what happens in this movie so we have a general framework to work off of. Oh my God.
I can't believe you're making me give a synopsis of this massive movie. There's like 40 different things that are happening. And
a synopsis, bro. It's a middle movie. It's not that hard. It's pretty basic, actually.
Okay.
In the last movie, Frodo gets separated from his Fellowship of the Ring.
Yes.
Everybody goes in different directions.
So did Pippin and Merry.
And Gandalf dies.
Gandalf dies. Boromir, but Gandalf had already died. Boromir dies. So it's just Aragorn and Legolas.
Gimli.
And then they are trying to find the two hobbits, Pippin and Merry.
Who got taken by a band of orcs.
Yes. And Samwise and Frodo are going on an adventure to destroy the ring.
Yeah, they're going on a quest. Frodo's decided that it's not safe to have anybody around them, right? He thinks that they're all going to try and take the ring from him.
Mm-hmm. Frodo's the only good boy. Samwise's the only good boy.
Yeah. Well, he almost makes him drown to prove his love, but... Remember?
Yes.
So that's a synopsis?
I think so. What else am I to say? And then this happens, and then the whole war, 7 wars happen.
That's not really a synopsis of the movie. It's literally just where the movie starts, but okay. It's fine. I mean, people have seen this movie. I doubt that anybody's listening to this who hasn't
That wasn't a synopsis. What was it then? I told them the plot.
You told them what literally where the movie starts.
Okay, fine. And then they go, and they have to go, like, then all these orcs are coming in with their wargs.
No, stop it. I don't want you to tell the plot, like, every plot beat. Like I said, it's a middle movie. So
you give me the plot synopsis
then. It's a middle movie, so there's not really a huge synopsis.
Give us your world famous synopses that are so much better than mine.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's not going to be that much different because this movie doesn't end much further than where it begins.
Exactly, Dad. So you're saying I'm an idiot, goofball, dummy, and you understand why.
I never would say you're an idiot. You're a bozo.
Stop calling me a bozo.
You're bosonic.
No.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, this movie doesn't go very far, right? Because it's a middle movie. So you basically have the journey of Frodo getting a little bit closer to Mordor, where he's going to destroy the ring, and then you have Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli essentially rallying the
troops
of Rohan, and yeah, but there's not a,
What about Merry and Pippin?
Merry and Pippin accidentally end up rallying a whole army of tree peoples.
Ents.
Yeah.
Which are the most fun and best things in all of the world, and this is my new favorite movie.
All right, so which one of these plot threads do we start picking at first? And we're gonna try and do these in quick segments, so this podcast doesn't last a million hours. We're already like 11 minutes in.
I feel like it would make the most sense to start with I feel like Merry and Pippin's kind of like a middle story. It's kind of like a weird spot to start, So I feel like Frodo and Samwise, maybe?
Sure.
It makes the most sense to Frodo's like the main ring holder, so.
We can do 4 minutes on them really quickly, and then we'll take a quick break, and then
4 minutes on them?
We'll come back and we'll still do it, because we have to talk about Smeagol, because it's a huge thing.
Okay.
So, yeah, when we start, Frodo and Sam pretty quickly encounter Smeagol, right?
Yes.
Like almost immediately?
Maybe.
Do you not remember?
I don't know for sure. Fairly quickly. I thought they did something first, but maybe they didn't.
Well, they're in that boat, and then they get out of that boat, and they're all walking.
They already walked. That's the first movie they got out of the boat.
Yes. We watched this movie in 2 parts. It's not the first movie.
No, the second movie is whenever they're walking.
Ow, something's sticking in my back.
What?
Happened last time. They're walking this movie too. They get out of the boat.
Yeah, but they don't get out of the boat. They had already gotten out of the boat in the first movie.
Oh, and they started walking again?
Then they already started walking in this movie.
I actually can't remember. This is really embarrassing. We just watched this movie, and I can't remember what happens at the beginning before they meet old Smeagol.
So yeah, then they eat food, and then they find Smeagol.
Oh yeah, and he's like, all they have is that bread that's wrapped in banana leaves, and he's like, oh, we have this kind of bread, and some more bread, and he's like, oh, for elfish food, it's not that bad. And then Samwise shoves some more in his big fat face. just joking.
Don't disrespect Samwise.
But yeah, let's get in. Let's just get into Smeagol. Let's forget about Sam and Frodo. Everybody talks about them too much.
Get into Smeagol.
Yeah, let's get right into him.
Stop it right now. That was horrible.
You're the one who's making it sound all gross.
You said let's get right on into Smeagol.
You know what I meant. So this is one of the first, it's not the first, but it's one of the first fully CGI motion captured performances. I think the actual first was Jar Jar Binks. What? You love Jar Jar Binks. I know you're over there laughing like you hate him.
I like Jar Jar Binks. I don't love him. He's a Sith Lord, though.
This movie also made Andy Serkis's career. You know what I mean? His entire career is owed to Smeagol. And I would actually say that of all the actors in these movies, Andy Serkis is one of the ones who went on to be, whose career was the most transformed, let's say. Not that everybody's career wasn't transformed, but do you see a lot of Orlando Bloom movies now? I wish. Yeah.
What about Aragorn? Where's he gone?
Aragorn had a great career, but he was already had a, he certainly Lord of the Rings made his career, but he already was a working actor, and he went on to have a very good career. But I'm saying Andy Serkis was nobody knew who that was. Yeah. And he has gone on to become the master of doing these mocap performances.
I love him now.
He's
in Planet of the Apes.
Yes. Yep. He plays Caesar. But he was in a Marvel movie as not as himself.
As himself.
Yeah. He was a mocap actor who broke bad. He's the bad guy in Black Panther. One of the bad guys. Really? Oh yeah. The little white dude with the weird hand thing. Yeah, like a hand. And he had a beard. Yeah. That's Andy Serkis.
He was on the team with that other dude.
Yeah, we're not here to talk about Black Panther though.
I'm just making sure.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So when this movie started and Smeagol first came on screen, I immediately was like, oh no, he's a huge character for the rest of these movies. And while it still looks great, the CGI is dated and the compositing is not as fluid as it would be now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And within like 5 minutes, I was so captivated by Andy Serkis's performance that I didn't even notice anymore. The illusion was just gone. So I'm curious for you, like, what did you think about it?
Honestly, never even thought about it. I never even had that, oh no. Like, I think the whole time I just thought that looked really good.
Really?
Yeah. Honestly, the whole time, I never even thought about it. Like, sometimes I was just like, because you had said something about it, and I was like, oh yeah, I can see what you mean, and then I just would be distracted again.
Well, what did you think about like just the overall performance? Because I want you to keep in mind, like there had been no Smeagol before, right? People read it in a book, and he had to come up with that voice, that weird thing that he did, the weird way that he would like cough at the end of sentences, the way that he would change it.
Yes, I'm sure there was some direction there. He didn't do all of that.
As an actor, that was a choice. What do you think? Peter Jackson came on set and was like, kind of do like, and then I want you to be like,
well, I'm sure he was like, dude,
and then I want you to be like, sorry,
I'm gonna punch you in the face.
Why?
Whatever. But yeah, I think he does an amazing job, especially because he's doing like a lot of like work on screen by himself. He's acting with himself, which I think takes a lot of talent. You know, he's having to like create this like dichotomy of who he is, you know, and it just is really cool seeing like his evil and like nicer side, even though his nicer side is just kind of like really scared and wants to be nice but still like can't fully do it, and him arguing with himself, and he does it a bunch on screen. I just think he really nails that performance all the way home.
Yeah, I mean, we should talk about this a little bit more. So let's take a quick break and hear from our sponsors, and then when we come back, we'll continue our discussion of Lord of the Rings and the Two Towers.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about Frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Hey, I'm Zach,
And I'm Mike.
and we have a fantastic new podcast to tell you about. Bros, Foes, and Heroes. It's the two of us looking into the world of comics, breaking down some characters that you may have never heard of, and some that are just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, so Zach comes up with a character each time, and I go into it just completely blind. I don't know who this person is or what their abilities are or anything, and basically I guess we kind of go over their origin story and just some of the ridiculous stuff that maybe, especially Golden Age stuff.
Oh, Golden Age stuff is always the best, and we will make sure to highlight all of the shenanigans and just absolute weirdness of everything.
Yeah, that's right. So subscribe today and follow us on Instagram at Bros Foes Heroes.
And if you don't, I know where you live. Not really, but please subscribe.
Frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about Frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about.
Hey y'all, I'm April,
Hi, I'm Caroline.
and we have a new podcast for you. What's it called, Caroline?
Bloody Happy Hour.
It's going to be your new favorite guilty pleasure. We're going to talk about some bloody stuff. Serial killers, true crime,
Rape.
rapists. Why not join us? We'll have a good time.
You literally never know. I don't know what I'm going to say. Bloody Happy Hour. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Welcome back to the Kids Days in the Podcast and our discussion of the Two Towers. Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers.
Yeah, you got to specify since you were talking about 9/11 earlier.
Okay.
Yeah, so we were talking about Smeagol, Andy Serkis's performance, and you were saying that you thought that the way that he has to like argue with himself and play with himself.
Yes, I'm sure the
Play with
listeners
himself.
probably didn't. Dad. The viewers probably didn't, or the listeners probably didn't forget that fast.
I know, but I'm just saying. So that part of the performance I thought was amazing, but also the physicality of that performance. I mean, when you think of him playing Caesar, you know, he's having to kind of be on all fours and, you know, be an ape. But this performance is just bananas. Like, I honestly really cannot, like, there's a reason that everyone was like, he should win an Academy Award.
Did he?
I don't think so. I was still a really weird place for the Academy, and I don't think actually still a mo-capped actor has won the Academy Award.
Really?
It's very sad, but it's a weird place to be in because I think the Academy probably didn't even know how, like they didn't understand it, right? They couldn't know how much of it is actually him. When is it not him? The answer is it's never not him for the most part. So he's like, all the things about how many times Smeagol's like on the ground rolling around, you know what I mean? Like,
And beating fish.
yeah, that part was kind of amazing.
He does so much. He just does. And Smeagol's such an interesting and unique character to learn to play.
Yeah.
And honestly, it sounds like I feel like he would have had a lot of fun playing that role.
I can't imagine though,
As an actor, I imagine how much fun it would be to be that person.
can you do a Smeagol impersonation? That's like everybody's thing back in like the early 2000s.
Dude, I used to
was
be.
everybody had their Smeagol impersonation.
I used to be able to do one. I want to hear yours to see if
I don't have one.
I want you to do one.
Nope, I'm not doing it. I don't have one.
And I need you to do one. That way I feel less embarrassed if I do mine.
No, I don't have one. I literally don't. I never was able to do it. I can't make my voice that high.
But you're going to make fun of me.
I'm not going to make fun of you.
I don't fully understand. Now that I'm listening to him.
Why did I say like my precious?
I know, but I don't
He
know.
says that all the time.
How high is his voice?
I don't know. Just try and do it. Just try and do
No,
it.
I don't want to do it.
Oh, you're not giving the fans what they want, man.
Is it what they want? They want me to do my Smeagol
I'm
impression.
telling you, everybody who clicked play was like one of them is going to do a Smeagol. I'm really excited about it.
Then you do your Smeagol.
I don't have one. I'm looking at you. You said you just now said you could do amazing one.
I used to back when I was young and hip
Oh my
and
gosh.
loved The Hobbit.
Well, let's
like-
let's leave it at this with the. Are you doing it?
Nope, not anymore. You're talking over me.
You're such a weirdo. I will say that moving forward, if they ever do, I'm sure they will because it's Hollywood, remake Lord of the Rings, I do not envy the person who has to play Gollum next time.
You don't envy them?
No, that is just a performance that is going to be so hard to beat.
That's true. That's fair.
But yeah, so let's wrap up what happens in this thing with Frodo. So we'll just take, like I said, we'll do this in 3 parts. So Frodo and Samwise,
They actually have a fairly small, like, arc in comparison to the other one.
oh yeah, definitely.
Like, very small.
Yeah, like I said, it's a middle movie, but yeah. So what they follow old Gollum
Because
tells
he
them
knows
he's
the
gonna-
way
He's
to.
gonna lead them to Mordor.
They find this swamp of dead bodies.
Yeah, they go through this weird swamp. What's it called? I always been called the Swamp of Sadness, but that's never
The
ending
dead
story.
body swamp.
It's not called Dead Body Swamp, but it is called something pretty on the nose. I think like Swamp of Death or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, they go.
Lifeless
They
swamp.
go traipsing around like whatever you think about Lord of the Rings. Whenever you, think about it. Whatever you think about. I just lost my entire vocabulary.
Oh my goodness
Oh, good-
gracious.
I was trying to say whenever you think about Lord of the Rings, this is the perfect example of what you're probably imagining, which is just a lot of people walking through different landscapes, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty much what most of Samwise and Frodo are doing in this movie. But it's punctuated by, and another thing that I completely had forgotten about, is that Gollum is really funny.
Gollum is really funny.
Like, I was like laughing out loud.
Same. We were both there.
Well, everybody listening wasn't there.
You're right, but I was also laughing out loud.
Yeah. So their journey's not is the benefits greatly from Gollum being there because not a lot, like you said, is really happening to them. And
We're gonna something happens to them.
They get captured.
Yes.
Yeah, they get captured by
Boromir's brother.
Yes.
What's his name?
Faramir.
Wow, really creative.
Yes, Faramir and his band of merry men, looking very much like Robin Hood's, capture them, and they're pretty much their journey ends with Faramir saying he's going to take them to Gondor so that his dad can have the ring. His dad, had originally sent Boromir to get the ring for them, and then Faramir lets him go.
Yeah, at the very end during this war battle.
Yeah, there's a fun battle with some, what are they called? Nazgul? The Nazgul? The ring wraiths?
Yeah, Nazgul's right, ring wraiths.
Yeah, there's ring wraiths on these really badass looking creepy dragons.
Dad, stop saying bad words on our podcast.
I said badass. I didn't say bad words.
You're grounded. You're grounded right now.
But those dragons were really cool. I thought they were really unique looking. They're real scary.
I just think it was really funny that we kept making fun of it, that everything kept upgrading halfway through.
Oh yeah, because they were on horses before.
They were on horses, and then all of a sudden they got dragons.
Yeah.
And then
it really did remind me of like a strategy video game where, you upgrade your base, and all of a sudden now you can have infantrymen with,
guns,
army tanks or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's see what they're writing in the next movie.
I don't even know what the upgrade would be.
They're in the exact, I'm not kidding you, it's the exact same fighter jet from Top Gun.
Really?
Yeah.
They all have fighter jets.
Yes, the Nazgul. They're all in F-16s.
That sounds awesome.
But yeah, that's pretty much the end of Frodo's journey. But like you said, he does accidentally. He's trying to save Gollum's life because he went swimming in some sacred pond or something. I didn't really understand that.
Yeah, and then he started beating fish against rocks.
Yeah, so he saves his life, but in exchange he has to help them capture him, and so he feels like he's betrayed. So now
he's mad at them.
Now he's mad at them again.
And now they're betraying. He's betrayed them. He's betrayed him now.
Yeah, he's gonna betray him. So where this ends, and I'm really excited about this part in the next movie. It's the only part that I remember. Is he's leading them, and they don't say who it is at the end of this movie, but they're like, "Oh, she'll kill him for us," blah 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 blah.
But we know who it is.
And yeah, but can you imagine? So I was leaving that movie theater, and I was like thinking, "Oh, it's just gonna be some like witch or some hag or whatever." And my dad's like, "Oh, it's Shelob," because my dad's read those books a million times. I was like, "I don't know anything about Shelob. I don't know who that is." And he's like, "It's like this big monster thing or whatever." And maybe he told me it was a big spider, but it's a horrifying, awful, like one of the scariest spiders I've ever seen.
Okay.
It scared the crap out of me at the movie theater. So we know that that's where he's leading them, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's leading them to the lair of a big evil spider.
Yes.
So that is the end of Frodo's story. Whose story do you want to dive into next? And you go ahead and start this one.
Well, I should just do the easiest one. I'd rather do Merry and Pippin, even though I feel like I should do theirs last.
Yeah, let's do Merry's and Pippin's.
So, Merry and Pippin get captured by these orcs. And Legolas and whatever are trying to find them. But, because they're like leaving stuff. How do they get to this point, though?
Because Butcher and his roving group of men attacks all the orcs.
And then they're free? Oh, yeah.
Butcher, by the way, is
from The Boys.
Yeah, it's
Is it actually Butcher? Did you see it in the cast list?
It is. Yes, it is. But what's his name? It's annoying me that I can't think of it. Carl Urban.
Yeah, I know Carl Urban.
Yeah, he plays.
We go way back.
Eomir, I think is his name.
These names suck.
Why?
Boromir, Faramir, Euromir.
Well, that's
Dealmir, Peelmir. I can make up these names. Gilmir, Pilmir, Wilmir, Tilmir.
That's really rude.
Ulomir.
Remember when we watched The Northman?
Pulomir.
All of their names are like that too. They're like, "I'm Jorman Horkensmar," and then the next guy's like, "Oh, I'm Horkin Snormensnor."
Okay.
They all were the same. Yeah. So anyway, Carl Urban's.
They get out. They start running free, and then they go into the forest, and then they meet an Ent named Treebeard, which is hilarious.
What's an int? Some people might not know what an int is. Is that a type of
I just not
insect?
told them his name is Treebeard, so I think they should be able to figure it out.
Is that like an ant with a beard?
Oh my
Is
gosh.
that an ant that lives in a tree who has a beard?
No, it's a big giant.
Is it Santa Claus of the insect world?
For people, stop it. It's like a big giant like tree, a live tree. Like imagine Groot, but bigger and way cooler and awesomer.
Oh, it's interesting. You have a Zoomer over here saying that the ints written way back in the day are cooler than Groot.
I love ints. I've always loved ints.
What else have you seen ints in?
I don't know, but I just know that I love them.
Well, I can tell you that whenever I saw this movie at the theater, way back in the days, I also immediately knew that I loved ints.
They're awesome and they're massive and they look really good because you said they're puppets, right?
Yeah. Well, some combination of puppetry and CGI.
Well, this one's a puppet. The main one's a giant puppet and it's awesome. So this ant doesn't believe, it says that they're orcs.
Yeah.
And doesn't believe that they're what they are. Little halflings.
Hobbits.
Same thing,
Okay.
basically. And so then they meet someone crazy. You ready? Are y'all ready, everyone? Are you ready, Dad?
Yeah. Who do they meet?
Gandalf the White.
That's right. I actually totally forgot about that. So I actually did not remember Gandalf being in the movie this early. I thought it was a while before he comes back.
Mm-hmm.
Like I only remember him coming back at the end
The horse.
with the horse. And then I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were like, "Well, why would you think that? Because he says, I'm going to be back at sunrise on the fourth day. How
Third day.
How would he say that if he didn't come in until the end?" I didn't remember it. That's the whole point. I didn't remember that. So I didn't remember that he says that.
Okay.
That was my impersonation of Reed, by the way.
That's so rude.
Does that sound like Reed?
No, not at all.
Yeah, so they run into Gandalf right in the middle of the woods.
And we actually don't, Merry and Pippin, we don't see Merry and Pippin meet him. We just see some white guy and we think it's Saruman. But Legolas and them actually meet Gandalf.
Yeah, the movie does a nice, fun little tricking job of purposely making you think it's going to be Saruman.
But no, it's a live, secret, reincarnated Gandalf.
I thought there was one weird thing about that. So he talks all about how he did all this weird fighting thing, and it was really hard to understand, but whatever.
What do you mean? He fought?
But he falls through the earth.
What?
He falls down a thing, then he falls through water, then he falls through the sky, and then he lands on a tower, and then fights the Balrog.
He fell through the water into the sky?
How did he end up on a tower?
He was fighting all the way up to the top.
No, he was fighting down. He was falling down. That was them falling. You thought they were flying?
Yeah, but then they stopped at the tower. So is that...
What are you talking about?
Okay, so they fell into the water, right?
And they fell through the water.
No.
And then he says, through water and sky.
Really?
That's what he said.
I don't remember that at all. I didn't realize.
When did you see them fly out of the water like Superman and start flying through the air?
I didn't say that. I thought they fell into the water and then they were fighting. That wouldn't make any sense.
Exactly. That's what I'm
I
saying.
thought they were like fighting in the lake and then they got out and then started fighting up top.
No. Nope.
Weird.
Yeah, so that part was weird. But the other thing that's kind of weird to me is that Gandalf is like, they call him Gandalf, right? And he's like, "Oh yes, that's what they used to call me, Gandalf the Grey." And it's like he doesn't even remember who he is, and that's never ever addressed in the whole rest of the movie. It's like he just all of a sudden got all of his memories back, but they don't address that really either.
Maybe it was just like, maybe he just forgot his name and that's like an important part
That's
of who he is.
That is so weird. Have you ever met somebody who had amnesia and the only thing they forgot was their name?
No, it's not about amnesia. Sometimes people forget their names, like ghosts. They forget their names, and then they need their names to know who they are.
But that's in one thing.
Exactly.
But either way, he doesn't know who he is.
He does now. He's Gandalf the White.
Okay,
And then he
whatever.
turns
My
to all
point
those
is that
people.
I just thought that was kind of a weird thing to even allude. Why did they even allude to the fact that he didn't know who he was if they're not going to address it?
I don't know.
Don't smack into the microphone. It's really gross.
I didn't mean to, but I don't know.
Yeah, I just thought that was weird. But yeah, so their story's pretty straightforward as well.
Can I go back to telling it?
Yeah. Fine, go ahead.
So
I didn't want us to do just a full plot recap here.
So yeah,
that's what you're doing.
Mary and Pippin, they're on their awesome ant puppet, and then they're like, oh, we've just decided you're not an orc, and we're gonna send you home because you can't be here. And one of the little halfy boys are so mad and upset about it. And then this I'm just trying to get through all of this.
I know it's like really annoying to me that you're just literally just recapping every.
But I'm just trying to get to the part that I like.
Just skip to that part then.
Okay, so after all of this happens, they go, and Treebeard sees a dead, burnt forest.
And now we have to take a break. You took so long. You took a whole entire segment to get through their plot. Blabbering. Anyway, we'll be right back after these messages.
That.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
911, what's your emergency?
Do you hear that? It's coming from the house.
It's coming from inside the house? Do you mean? Could it be?
The Poltergeist. New from Rogue Media. Two haunted hotties talking about haunted places. Every episode, we dive deep into the darkest places and give you a bit of history.
We're getting spooky in all the right places.
You've gobbled your last ghoul.
Follow along for the craziest and spookiest stories with Debbie's Dark Tourism. The Stanley Hotel,
Winchester House,
The Alamo,
Hotel Monte Vista,
and more spooky places. Find us at _Poltergals. POLTERGALS.
Look over your shoulder. It's us,
The Poltergals. Wherever you consume the podcast, you can find us there.
Welcome to One Star Rewind, a new podcast about those dreaded one-star reviews that every business owner hates to receive, but yet every customer loves to read. During this podcast, we will peel back that one-star review to better understand how it happened, when it happened, and what the business owner is doing after receiving that one-star review. This podcast will be about love, hate, and laughter. On One Star Rewind, we will meet with real business owners who will tell their stories and how they do rely on reviews for their business. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or download us at roguemedianetwork.com. Please subscribe, but only rate and review for not a one-star review. Join us each time for a new review and a new story.
Welcome back to the Kid Stays in the Podcast and our discussion of Lord of the Rings and the Two Towers. So Solomon took so long telling the story of what was happening with Merry and Pippin in this movie by telling us every single tiny little time they took a crap or had to take a leak. So I'm going to finish and tell the end. So
no, you're
the big
not.
ant guy.
So rude.
You didn't even mention that they had the coolest thing, which is they had a council of Ents. Like, it was literally while we were watching the movie, you're like, why is there only one Ent? And like right when you said that, there's like a whole council of Ents.
There was like 10 Ents, and they were all like, we've decided that you are half hobbits.
Yeah, okay, God. Come on, let's move this forward.
So yeah, they see the burnt forest, and he's like, oh my goodness gracious. I knew these trees since they were baby acorns. They had thoughts and feelings.
I had to tell you that line.
They had thoughts and feelings and critters that I spoke to.
Yeah.
And then they were like, we're going to go murder this town.
Yeah, he's like a wizard, should know better.
So, yeah, then this is the best part of the whole movie, best part of any movie, best cinematical thing that's ever happened.
And most exciting line ever uttered is, the Ents are going to war. I can't even talk like Treebeard. So slow talking.
And it's like, after that, he's like, the Ents we will win or meet our doom.
Yeah, because they're the last of the Ents.
The last of the Ents. Yeah, it was awesome. And then they start charging in to Saruman's tower.
What is it called? I always want to call it like something wrong. It begins with an I. Earthermer.
I didn't know how to name it.
It's yes, you did. Isengard. That sounds right. Yeah, Isengard.
Is that not where?
Isgard.
Isengard I just thought was where the volcano was.
That's Mordor.
That's Mordor?
Yes. How do you not know that? Everybody knows that.
I didn't know that. I thought the whole thing was Mordor. I thought Mordor and Middle Earth were synonymous.
No. I'm pretty sure it's Isengard.
Okay, well, maybe it's Isengard. And I'm pretty sure it starts with an E.
It's Sauron's towers there, and
all of his orcs and his factories,
and all his factories and everything,
and forges and everything. And these Ents are going ham. And I was watching these Ents get hurt. Like each one made me want to start bawling. But they're like breaking down towers, stomping on people. Merry and Pippin are just chucking rocks like little goobers. And everyone just like these Ents are strong too. They're like lifting up boulders and chucking them at the big tower to knock it down. And then they figure out the weak point.
Yeah, they break the dam.
And
then because they're big old trees, they just put some roots in and they're fine.
Yeah, they're all fine. All the orcs die, basically. And they win that battle. But also, I just want to say something. One of the trees got caught on fire and I almost started just crying. And because they knocked the dam out, he like started running and then put his little head into the water and put his fire out.
I thought that was a really delightful detail.
It was really cute. I loved it.
So I remember watching this for the first time, and I was just mind blown by it. Right, never had seen anything at this scale. Never had seen talking walking tree people before. And I just was like on the edge of my seat. I think every hair on my body was like standing up. I was so freaked out. So I'm curious, how do you feel like, I mean, obviously you seem to get a good time, but how do you feel like that scene held up? As far as, we were talking about 20-year-old special effects here.
Bro, 20 out of 10, man. They looked great. I mean, like, obviously Groot is like, you can't compare to that, but this is so different. This felt so much more real and like, Groot feels so much more like a sleek and clean space Ent.
Yeah.
This was like real tree people that you would see in the real world. Like you walk outside, you see Ents. Like that's what this was, and I loved every second of them on screen. And every time they would cut to that, I was so excited.
Yeah, and I don't think that they're in the movie I don't think they're in the next movie at all. Sadly.
Are you serious?
I think it's an Ent-free enterprise.
We need more Ent movies.
I could be wrong. They could be in it a lot. I don't remember anything about the next movie at all except for Shelob.
I don't feel like it would make sense for the Ents to be in it much more.
Well, I mean, that whole army of trees.
What are they going to... Oh my gosh, they're going to go all raid the Sauron's tower.
I don't think that I would send a tree into a volcano fight.
I would.
You didn't want them to die.
I don't, but I want them to do cool things.
Well, they have to be still in the movie a little bit because they must at least be at the beginning, right?
Because Merry and Pippin are still with them.
Yeah. All right, so I thought that was all amazing. Let's go ahead because we're running out of time. We now have like the kind of bulk of the plot of this movie, which is what's going on with Legolas, Gimli, and
Aragorn.
So this part of the plot is actually the most complicated, and like I said, I don't want to do beat by beat. So what you have is you're introduced to Rohan, which is like this. One of the empires of men, and the king of this. By the way, was so confusing to me at the theater. I must have been a moron.
I think you were bosonic back then.
You can't steal my words.
Yes, I can.
But you also have so much more fantasy stuff in your life in general.
Oh, so you're just saying I'm smarter than you because I've seen more stuff than you.
I'm just saying that. I'm telling you, man, back in 2000, we were not getting a lot of fantasy stuff,
but you couldn't even comprehend the most simple thing in all the world.
There was everybody's names were so weird.
Dad, we are like circling around this thing. What was so confusing to you back in the day?
I didn't understand what was going on with old man Jenkins on his throne.
The king.
Yeah, I didn't understand what was happening. I also didn't understand how magic worked in this very well. So
it works however they want it to work.
I know that now, but I was trying to figure it out. But yeah, so the King of Rohan has basically has a spell put on him by Saruman, right?
Yep.
and he looks really old, and he's like decrepit, and there's this disgusting pervert guy whispering in his ear who has dirty teeth.
We do not like him.
His name is like Squirmerill Wormtongue.
Squirmerill Wormtongue.
His name is something like that. Look, I have him pulled up.
I'm pretty sure Wormtongue is correct.
It's what is it? What do you think his first name is then?
Not Squirmerill.
It is Grimma.
Not the same at all. Yeah, so he's like a gross, nasty little man who's like being like, oh, you must say that's bad for guys. You don't want them talking to you. And then the king was so dazed and possessed, he was just like, oh, don't leave my kingdom.
Yeah, and then he has I think it's a niece or a daughter. It's Eowyn, and played by Miranda Otto, and she, by the way, is absolutely fantastic in this movie.
She's
goddess. Very, very beautiful woman. And that gross worm-tongue guy, worm-tail guy or whatever, he's all trying to hit on her with his unbrushed teeth and his gross puffy face. And it's real creepy vibes.
Disgusting. We hate him. We hate him.
But anyway, all the people come. They're all, what's his name? Gandalf. What's his name? Whatever. Wizard boy. He like unpossesses him. He does a full-on exorcism. And they get that guy back. What is his name?
You have the cast list.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not going to recognize that actor. And I don't know the guy's name. That's what I was going off of.
So he's
the king. He's the king of Rohan.
Is that really his name?
I think it's Theoden.
So he's the king of Rohan, and he's all back to normal, and he's an excellent character.
Yeah,
beautiful leadership, and you really feel king vibes from this man.
Yeah, so they find out that they're like going to get attacked. So this is leading up to the big culmination, which was it was the event of the movie season. Was they pull all of their people back to Helm's Deep. So all the people of Rohan, they pull them back to Helm's Deep, which is this fortress that's built into the side of a mountain that's never been penetrated before, right? It has like 2 layers of walls that you have to scale.
Mm-hmm.
And, they all are looking at it as like their Alamo.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly like their Alamo.
Yeah. There's 300 against what, 20,000?
10,000.
10,000 of like the most elite orc troops. They called them something like the Al Jazeeras.
And they have the most strongest armor ever created, and 10,000 of them versus 300. Like, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, so everyone thinks they're going to die. Aragorn and the king are having to, like, go around.
Being like, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
If I fight for our people, we're going to win.
Legolas tries to wuss out. He's all like, we're all going to die. We're all going to die.
Yep, spreading propaganda.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to die. He's all the twink parties he wants to still go to.
Bro.
What? Just saying.
But then, right before the battle starts, who comes to save them?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
The elves.
That was really cool. All of the Elrond sent all the these whole battalion of elven archers.
Yep. I love elven archers.
Yep, they were.
It's not elvish archers.
Elvish, maybe. So here's the thing. We all know because there's a whole battle, and we can talk about that in a second. But they're all like, "Oh, we're gonna die," the whole time, and Aragorn's just letting them say that. Did everybody forget that old Gandalf said, "Hey, look for me at sunrise on the 5th day. I will be back with these folks."
The 5th day?
Did they all forget about it? Did they all forget that he said that? Because everybody acted like he never said it. They all acted so stunned until literally Aragorn hears the flashback of him saying it to him. But they don't even mention it. They don't ever say all we have to do is hold out until Gandalf gets back. He's going to be here at sunrise.
I'm sure they forgot about it. Or maybe they thought they were going to die before then.
That's just so weird that they didn't ever mention it.
It is kind of weird. I didn't think about that ever.
I felt like it was like the movie wanted us to forget, so we would all think it was all hopeless too.
Yeah, I did think it was hopeless.
Yeah.
I had no idea what they were going to do. I thought they were just going to do some magic.
It was
bombs.
really amazing though whenever the elves showed up, because that king had just been like, "Who's going to come help us?" the elves, the dwarves.
Gondor hasn't helped us in years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gondor seems like it sucks.
Gondor blows.
Maybe Aragorn should have stayed there and been the king instead of turning all stridery and just becoming a
Being
mercenary.
so hot and sexy.
But yeah, what did you think about this battle? This battle, like I said, it was the thing. People were parodying it in commercials. People were like, it was everywhere.
Parodying
it wasn't. The Battle of Helm's Deep wasn't in the zeitgeist in 2002. The Battle of Helm's Deep was the zeitgeist. Like, that was the biggest moment for a long time. So what did you think about that? Like, again, these are 20-year-old special effects. Like, did you think it was a cool battle? How did you think the set,
Dad,
the props?
This movie was so good. So here's what I'm going to say. Immaculate. Everything about this battle was astonishing, okay? Like, it was the double wall penetrating, all these cool,
Double wall penetrating is tight. I said to say that.
Okay. So, like, all of this stuff, all these, like, strategies of them, like, the archers being on top, and then there's, like, a bunch of, like, a whole back layer of archers shooting lobs from below.
Lobs?
Lobs of arrows from below.
A volley
of arrows a volley of arrows from below. And, like, I think all of that was just really cool, and it was really fun to watch. Like Gimli fighting people. Gimli was also really funny. He was too short to look over the wall. He's having to jump up and down like a little shorty boy.
And what did you think about the part where they repeated a joke from the first movie where Gimli has to ask them to toss him?
Oh yeah, he asked Aragorn to toss him.
Before he said you never toss a dwarf. Mm-hmm. And then he asked him to because he couldn't make it across.
Yeah, that was pretty good, pretty funny, and awesome. Like, there was just so many cool things in that battle. There was the ladders coming up, and then there's like the grappling hook ballistas, and then they got even bigger ladders and bigger ballistas, and all kinds of cool things were going on. And you really do. You're like, oh, dude, they're doing really good. But then it's like you're starting to feel less and less hope. They're breaking over the gate. You're breaking open the gates, and then they're like bombing the walls, and then you just you're hopeless until you see the glimmering, shining light of Gandalf.
Well, that's a perfect place for us to take our final break. When we come back, it'll be our wrap-up of the Battle of Helm's Deep, as well as our overall thoughts on the movie, and then you can go about your day.
Them or us?
They can. We can also go about our day.
No, this is our day.
Yeah, we actually just live in here.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we'll be right back.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Hi, this is Sarah.
And I'm Carter.
And this is Some of Our Thoughts.
We're two Southern sommeliers, and we want to share everything we love and know about wine. We started hanging out during quarantine and cooking and drinking and listening to music, and we just thought this would be a great way to bring everything we know to you guys.
We will make wine knowledge and food pairings easy and approachable. So put on your favorite vinyl, grab your favorite glass of wine, tune into our show, and let's have some fun.
Wine and vinyl. So check us out on roguemedianetwork.com or wherever you get your favorite podcast. We'll be talking about a lot.
Welcome back to the Kids Days in the in the podcast, and our final closing thoughts on
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings and the Two Towers. That was not good.
That was the worst. But I want us to leave it in so people can see how incompetent you are.
Okay.
So yeah, we were just talking about the Battle of Helm's Deep, and I want to, before we get to Gandalf showing up, I do want to say that I forgot how much, whenever I was, how old was I? 2002, 19, 18, 18.
18?
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna be way
how
older.
cool I thought Legolas was. I thought it was so cool.
Dude, there were so many
Stop talking about how hot all the men are. You're not supposed to objectify people.
Okay, fine. But he did like shield
That's what I was
surfing.
gonna say. That part where he like grabs the shield, slides down the stairs, shooting arrows, and then he kicks the shield into that orc's chest. Another thing that I love about this, it's not Game of Thrones level, but I loved it because it's orcs. This movie is violent. They're just chopping them orcs' heads off. I mean, this is a PG-13 fantasy movie.
Yeah. And it goes crazy.
Yeah, they're stabbing people in the face. They're stabbing people in the eyes.
And those arrow stabs are always in the face.
I really hope that the king's name is Theoden because that's what I'm going to be calling him. I'm pretty sure that's what his name is.
Let me look at him.
Does it sound right?
Just in case.
Well, it's... Oh no, I clicked on John Rhys Davies. Oh, he also played Treebeard. Gimli did.
Gimli played Treebeard?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That guy right there. I'm pretty sure that's him.
Oh, he looks really old.
But I think I can see.
Dude, how is Christopher Lee alive?
I do not know. He does not look like he's still alive.
We love you, Christopher Lee, but I'm glad you're holding in there.
You didn't like Christopher Lee in the last thing. You said that Count Dooku was better.
Theo Dredd. Wait, no.
Is that him?
No, who'd you say? Theoden?
Yeah.
Theo Dredd is that it? Look. That doesn't look like him. That's long hair.
That's the elf guy, doofus.
Well, why are their names so similar?
Have we not already established this?
Yeah, but if he's an elf and this is a man, Theoden and Theo Dredd doesn't make it... You took the stupid phone. Maybe that is him.
I think that is him.
All right. Well, if we're wrong, we can just be wrong.
Yeah, we'll just be wrong. But either way, he was great in the final moments, and then Aragorn's like, "Oh, let's do a ride out. We're gonna ride out to battle."
Mm-hmm.
And then he gives like a little speech, and he says something I can't remember what it is that was really good. It's not really a speech; it's like a saying or something. You know what I'm talking about?
Not really.
He says, I'm not going to be able to say it at all, but he says something like, where bricks will fall and men will blah, the dust of blah, blah, blah will blah. He says some little speechy thing. Were you not paying attention?
That's awesome.
Are you not?
That's really cool.
I didn't even say it, so you weren't paying attention during
I thought it sounded really cool what you said.
Oh, my God.
That when bricks will fall and men will die.
I can't remember what he said, but he says something, and they ride their horses, and they go charging right out the doors. Really awesome. And then, like you said,
seeing Gandalf the White in the distance with his thousands of men.
Now, so I will say that I thought they did a great job with this, but I was listening to a podcast the other day that talks about military strategy, and this professor also using the lens of his knowledge of ancient military strategy and analyzes like strategy and fantasy things like Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about Helm's Deep. And one of the complaints that he had, not complaints, but one of the things that he said that was dumb that the orcs did, first of all, they very clearly weren't prepared for a long-term siege like they should have been. Really, 300 against 10,000 should have been pretty doable for a keep like that. You know what I mean?
Like 300?
Yeah.
Is pretty easy.
Should have been pretty doable. You know what I mean? Those orcs really were able to get them ladders up really fast, and they had a bomb. They were kind of cheating. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Then they upgraded their ladders, and they had
3 times.
Yeah, they had ladders that could hold an entire squadron of orcs. But in real life, they probably could have defeated them because they weren't encamped. They didn't have tents. They didn't have anything for a siege. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest thing that he was talking about was that they should never have been able to get ambushed. I said complaining about. He wasn't complaining about it. He was just saying their strategy was dumb.
The orcs?
Yeah, because think about it. That guy was carrying how many men was old Carl Urban having
Gandalf?
Yeah, he was with Carl Urban.
Okay.
And this band of roving
You
men.
said 20,000, which is definitely wrong.
Yeah, it's not. I can't remember how many it was.
Maybe 2,000.
But either way, imagine you'd be able to see those people coming. They're not sneaking. They're not camouflaged. It's a big horde of horses. So his point was the orcs you should always have a scouting party to your rear that's watching to make sure no one's going to sneak up behind you.
But the orcs are stupid.
Kind of. I think that's his point. Their strategy was if they would have just done that, then they would have known that somebody was coming because you would have been seeing them people are riding on horses.
It was on a rock. It was on a hill. It was on a mountain.
That's what I was gonna say. That I think the movie actually does visually a thing to make you not have to worry about why the orcs are so stupid, because it's on a really steep mountain, right? So it makes sense why they wouldn't have seen them coming.
Yeah.
But they should have had some scouts up there.
Sure.
To make sure. But then, whatever, we wouldn't have had the awesome scene. So yeah, they come in and then Gandalf blinds them with his blinding staff.
Oh, I thought that was just the sun.
No, bro, it's the Gandalf's one magical trick that he has. He's always blinding people with his big blinding staff.
What a cool trick.
But yeah, and that's pretty much the movie. Now we have Rohan sided with the elves. The poor elf guy got killed though.
Oh yeah.
I think this is him, and he's the one who had that weird name.
Theodred?
Yeah. Theodred, yeah. I think it's pronounced differently than that.
Theodred?
Yeah, something like that. But yeah.
Theodred.
And then all the hobbits are going off to go meet that spider lady. And yeah, the movie just ends.
It just turns off.
Turns off.
Yeah. So final thoughts, closing statements.
So I told you before we watched this that when we saw it at the theater, I remember it being my favorite movie of the trilogy. I love the first movie, but I loved this one so much. It had more action, had more crazy stuff like Ents and whatever. And just the story was, the characters pretty well now, right? So we're not having to establish them. And now you can get to the part where you can just enjoy spending time with your friends.
Yes.
And I only saw the third movie once, so maybe when I watch it again, I'll love it even more. But I remember when I saw it, we saw the midnight screening. It's these movies are 3 hours long, and I was fading fast. During that movie, yeah. And also, I think I might have had like a couple of beers because I was in film school, I believe, when it came out. And
see what alcohol does to you, Dad?
Maybe that made me sleepy. No, it wasn't, because I didn't go to film school until 2004. So it was 2003 when that came out. So no, maybe I just ate a bunch of food. Maybe I was just tired, who knows? But I was falling asleep.
Why are we talking about the next movie and not talking about the movie right now? I'm trying to ask you for your closing statements.
I was saying, my point is that's the reason I thought that this movie was my favorite, and I told you that going into it. And I would say it until we watch the next movie, I stand with that by that conclusion. I really, really enjoyed this movie. I was super annoyed that we had to watch it in two different parts because you couldn't make it through one movie.
I could have watched it in one part, but you had already made us a deal, so.
But yeah, I loved it. I loved it.
This might be one of my favorite movies ever made.
Really?
This movie was so fun, so cool. Everything about it was so well done and beautiful. Wonderful, and there's always something intense happening, and everything was so unique and fun, even though some of it was kind of over the top, like how they upgraded their ladders and then all of a sudden had grappling hook ballistas and bombs and flying Nazgul. I feel like everything was amazing, and also I think those Ents really just gave it 10 points.
And do you feel like
out of 10?
Now you're a little more used? Do you think part of it might be that you're also more used to the world and the lore? You know what I mean? So it feels like you're fully inside of this fantasy world.
Probably. Maybe if I went back and watched the first movie again, I'd like it more. But this movie was just so good.
And so as far as the kind of going back to what we discussed last time, the kind of archetypes that we have in this, that Lord of the Rings really started, that you see in Dungeons and Dragons and whatever. And the biggest thing being kind of comparing it to a Dungeons and Dragons campaign again. How did you feel like they did as far as the scope of do you feel like you went on a journey from here to there? You know what I mean? This, you think about where Frodo and Samwise started at the beginning of this movie to what all this stuff happened. You know what I mean? Do you feel like that was there in the movie?
Series of the movie?
Just in this movie. Think about Did you feel like the scope was there when you think about the journey that each of these three groups of characters went through from where they started to the end?
Yes.
That you can't do a one word answer.
Why?
Solomon, I'm going to kill you. We're trying to wrap this thing up.
Yeah, I was trying to wrap it up, and I wrapped you up. I was done. What? Tied a bow on top. Okay. Whatever. Yes, I felt like there was there was a very clear, even though the movie didn't, it just kind of cuts off. There's a very clear starting and ending point. So you can see the progression through each of the characters' own story. The ants have their battle, and then there's the big Helm's Deep battle, and then there's the.
But think about where we went when you start off with like, let's just
Frodo?
say Aragorn and them.
Okay.
When you first start off, they're just tracking the orcs to find the other people.
Yeah,
And along
and then-
doing that, they end up running into Rohan. They end up fighting the wargs. They end up meeting a king who's like been possessed.
Yes.
They end up doing all these things. There's a huge amount of deep storytelling.
Helm's Deep?
That gets them. Oh God. You know what? I'm done, guys. We're just gonna let this one peter out. Just perfect ending for a review of a discussion of Two Towers. We're just gonna turn this one off right in the middle.
So cut it
We're just
on
gonna
off.
Cut it on off. So until next time.
Yep.
Goodbye.
Directed by Peter Jackson.
Follow us on Instagram at The Kid and the Pig and on RogueMediaNetwork.com.
Until next time.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.